This is CBC Here and Now.
In the last few weeks, we lost our jobs, lost our medical coverage.
Hopefully there's a glimmer of hope, but right now we're not banking on it.
Families and town leaders are absorbing the layoffs in St. Lawrence.
The fluorspar mine went into receivership last week.
Tracking some snow moving across the province tonight, then another round of snow moving in tomorrow night.
All the schools are looking for them. A lot of people are looking for them.
A lot of private citizens.
Yeah, a lot of support.
A lot more people are wanting to fly the Ukrainian colors.
This company is selling so many flags, it's running out of fabric.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Anthony Germain. We begin tonight on the Burin Peninsula. It's a town that's accustomed to the boom and bust cycle, and right now St. Lawrence and other communities on the Burin Peninsula are being hit once again. Hopes that a revival of the fluorspar mine might bring long-term economic salvation to the region have been seriously threatened. Here Now's Terry Roberts is in St. Lawrence tonight, and he joins us live to help us understand just how these families are doing. Terry?
Yeah, well, Anthony, this is what's been generating so much hope on the Burin Peninsula in recent years. This is fluorspar. Fluorite, it's a hot commodity right now. It's a key ingredient in things like the steel making process. Even lithium-ion batteries need this kind of stuff, and that's crucial right now because we all know about the electrification of the vehicle fleet. And there's a world-class deposit of this stuff just over the hill here in St. Lawrence, and hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent reviving that old mine site up there in recent years. But it all came to a halt last week, and that's dealt a severe economic blow to a lot of families here on the Burin Peninsula.
Shane Slaney has more time to practice his accuracy these days, to unwind in the comfort of his shed. But all this downtime was unexpected, unwanted, and has delivered a devastating blow to his family.
In the last few weeks, we lost our jobs, lost our medical coverage.
The mine's operator, Canada Fluorspar, has run out of cash. Creditors are now scrambling to come up with a restructuring plan, perhaps find new investors, hoping to avoid bankruptcy and total closure. 230 workers have been laid off. Just 50 remain. Families all over the Burin Peninsula have had their lives upended. Shane Slaney lost his job as a truck driver. His partner Paula was also laid off. So was Shane's father and his sister. One family, 4 pink slips.
Not easy for anyone to, your whole family getting laid off.
Shane and Paula have a blended family, 5 young children.
To them, it's not, they don't really, understand much of it. They just know that we're not working at the moment. And, to them, we're home all the time now.
The mine reopened 5 years ago in a region where many people work rotationally outside the province, spending much of the year away from their families. It was a dream come true. Local jobs, decent money. But if the mine fails, Slaney and others will likely be on a plane again to Alberta or elsewhere. Missed birthdays and other treasured family moments.
Right, that's going to be probably the hardest part of it all.
St. Lawrence is home to about 1,100 people. The seafood plant operates seasonally, employing up to 200 at peak times. But the mine was supposed to be year-round, well-paying jobs, with years of production. Now some are doubtful it will survive.
I would love for it to, so I can go back out there. But to be honest, I don't see it happening.
Here at the fire hall, Volunteer Chief Darrell Doyle has more than emergency preparedness on his mind these days. Doyle and 5 other members of the brigade were among those cut loose in last week's mass layoff. He's still rattled.
We thought we had stable employment, which don't happen around here that much for full year round.
The mine gave the fire brigade a much-needed boost. Having more members working locally meant more people available for emergencies.
We can't sit around idle, so people are going to be looking for jobs. So we got to go where the jobs are, and that's take them away from town, and if they don't find anything else around here.
This is the 3rd time this town is enduring a mine shutdown, and residents seem toughened by the years of ups and downs.
We've been knocked down a lot of times, and we always, seems like our character, we always straightens up and goes about our business.
We're talking about approximately 60 of our residents have been terminated.
The mine's future was item number 1 at Tuesday's council meeting. Town leaders have been pressing for answers, nervously hopeful about a positive outcome, but the mayor is prepared for the worst.
Hopefully there's a glimmer of hope, but right now we're not banking on it.
In addition to big job losses among its residents, the town itself stands to lose nearly 30% of its budget, a $450,000 annual tax grant from the mine.
We're going to either have to look for new funding or we're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Shane Slaney knows what it means to make tough decisions. There'll be some serious belt-tightening in his household, and more than a few anxious days ahead as a process beyond his control, but perhaps with big consequences, unfolds around a boardroom table.
Take it one day at a time. Just adjust.
Now, there's a lot of mixed opinions in this community about what the future holds for that mine. I spoke to a lot of people who say they believe it will reopen. There's just too much money been invested in here. Those investors want a return on that money, and the market for this stuff is still pretty hot. But many people say there's just been too many mistakes made. Most notably, what I'm hearing is that the attempt to build a port, a loading port here at Blue Beach in St. Lawrence, it failed miserably. A lot of money was spent, but it didn't work. Too many currents, too exposed to the ocean. So all this raw material had to be trucked to Marystown, 40 plus kilometers away. It just sucked any profit out of the business, and of course they ran out of cash. So if they're going to revive this mine, they got to find a better way to get this product to market. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Terry Roberts in St. Lawrence.
Well, as you can see out there in St. Lawrence, a beautiful evening, not so much in Port aux Basques. This is the view right now, covered in snow. Same thing for Burgeo, and that is because there's lots of snow on the southern areas of the island as we speak. Not showing up on the radar, but it is there, and it is heading further east as we head through the evening hours tonight. So over the next couple of hours, St. Lawrence will be seeing that snow. And if we zoom out a little bit, you can see that area of low pressure, and the next one moving in right behind it. Getting organized right now over Ontario. That's going to bring a second round of snow. Already seeing a special weather statement for the Avalon. I'll have the full details coming up.
A woman from Mount Pearl is considered to be one of the youngest player agents in the National Basketball Association, and she's had some big success.
For Xavier Moon.
I'm definitely taking advantage of this experience and essentially just do it again.
Her story tomorrow on Here and Now.
Well, there are no injuries, but a family in Gander is sifting through the damage after a fire ruined their home last night. It broke out at around 8 p.m. Several fire department units responded. Police say an investigator arrived on the scene today, and an investigation of that fire is now underway.
The province is loosening restrictions for visitors into healthcare facilities, which is good news for people hoping to visit friends and family. As of Friday, each person in long-term personal care home or inside a hospital can have 2 visitors at a time. Who those visitors are can change. They don't have to be those same designated support people. As the province gets ready to drop most restrictions in 2 weeks, health officials said masks will still be required in healthcare facilities in order to protect the most vulnerable, and also in schools.
To help realize our goal of keeping children in school as much as possible, masking will remain in place in schools until Easter break. We will reassess closer to that time to determine if we will continue with masking after that date. Regardless, we will always respect someone's choice to wear a mask.
Health officials have said that masks are a useful tool to reduce transmission with minimal impact. So why will they be no longer mandatory in less than 2 weeks? Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says the legislation requires her to use the least restrictive measures possible.
Keeping something in place that makes it, the rule of law to do is perhaps not the least restrictive means that you can use to accomplish that feat. And certainly there are other means that we can reduce the risks, such as our policies that we, that can be put in place in the RHAs with regard to our vulnerable settings, and in schools to reduce the risk of transmission as we start to see, more cases as we reopen. But we do have to move forward.
So let's take a look at the latest numbers. The number of people in hospital because of COVID-19 now stands at 15. That's a reduction since Monday. Now, this is the key number that health officials say they are now monitoring. 5 of those people in hospital are in the intensive care unit. There are almost 400 new cases recorded today, more than 350 yesterday. We also got a glimpse at the number of people testing positive on rapid tests. 3,393 people have reported testing positive in the last 10 days. Those positives don't show up in the province's daily case reporting.
Well, across the globe, people are finding different ways to show their support for Ukraine as Russia's attack on that country continues and intensifies. Well, here in this province, one symbol of solidarity has been flying off the shelves, and that's blue and yellow fabric. Here now is Enrique Wilhelm has that story.
The needle hasn't stopped at this flag store in Portugal Cove. What customers are looking for, Ukrainian flags.
The provincial government actually were the first ones phoned and looked for one, so we made them one, and then our boss came and seen it, and he said, well, okay, now you better make me one. And now all the towns are looking for them, all the schools are looking for them. A lot of people are looking for
a lot of private citizens.
Yeah.
It's a way to show solidarity with Ukraine following its invasion by Russia last week.
I did have one couple just leave that their son is on one of the ships that are going over next week, and but that's the first one. A lot of people are Ukrainian, and that live here in Newfoundland that are looking for them. And other people they're either married to one, or they just know people, or they just want to support.
There's a big demand for them, and it just makes you so proud that Newfoundlanders are just willing to step in no matter what, like they support, and that's I think that's just fantastic.
The demand has been so big, it required a limit of 1 flag per customer. More than 45 flags have been sold since Friday morning.
A lot of people are very understanding that we can't whip it out like that. And knowing that it's actually made here in Newfoundland, I think that gives them pride too. Saying made right here, we're supporting local.
Depending on the size of the flag, it takes about a half hour to make 1 flag. Sewing blue and yellow fabric together, it feels a bit different.
A bit pride, a bit brokenhearted. It's really mixed emotions. Yeah,
it's a sad situation.
Among the many places now ordering flags are schools, but also towns. Winco says the demand is so high they have already started running out of fabric, but the next shipment is on the way and should be here next week. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, Portugal Cove, St. Phillips.
Well, staying with the topic of Ukraine, Premier Andrew Furey says the province will be opening its doors to those fleeing the war. Government has set up a Ukrainian family support desk for people in the province looking to relocate their loved ones. The support desk aims to help reunite families and connect employers with Ukrainians looking for work. Meanwhile, Furey also pitched for NATO countries to consider buying oil from this province rather than depending on Russia.
We equally also have an opportunity. We have right here what the world needs as well, and that is to relieve some of our NATO partners of the tyranny of Russia and their stranglehold on the energy around the world. We have incredible product here right now that can be important in this global time of need to ensure that our NATO allies are not relying on Russia oil. It's environmentally some of the best oil in the world. It's not landlocked. We can go straight to market. And so we have a product that the world needs right now, and we need to make sure that that is being well positioned in this global time of crisis, not to capitalize, because there's a very big difference in capitalizing on this, but ensuring that our NATO partners, our other democratic societies, aren't relying on Russian petroleum products.
Russian forces have intensified their attacks on Ukraine's second largest city and are now targeting other major centers. Missiles hit the headquarters of the police and regional security service in Kharkiv today as attacks on civilian targets continued. Ukrainian officials say residential buildings are being hit. The Russians claim to have captured the city of Kherson, another port on the Black Sea. Now, for the first time since the start of this war, the Russian Defense Ministry released casualty figures. It says nearly 500 Russian troops have been killed and nearly 1,600 have been wounded. Ukraine has not disclosed its military casualties, but does say more than 2,000 civilians have been killed. Ceasefire talks are set to resume tomorrow morning.
Meanwhile, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution today denouncing Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
End hostilities in Ukraine now, silence the guns now, open the door to dialogue and diplomacy now. The territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine must be respected in line with UN Charter.
The General Assembly voted this morning to deplore Russia's invasion of Ukraine in the strongest terms. 141 countries, an overwhelming majority, voted in favor of the resolution. Russia and Belarus were two of the 5 countries that voted against it. The resolution calls on Russia to immediately withdraw its troops. Resolutions by the General Assembly are not legally binding, but often reflect international opinion.
Well, the provincial government officially congratulated Team Gushue on its latest Olympic medals. Today, Brad Gushue, Mark Nichols, and Brett Gallant were celebrated at a ceremony at Confederation Building in St. John's. The curling team won bronze at the Games in Beijing just last month, 16 years after winning gold.
Every athlete in this province is inspired because of you, dreams because of you, and knows that they can reach the ultimate pinnacle in sport because of you. So beyond the forefoot, beyond the medals, beyond, you've reached into every pool, every rink, every soccer pitch, every rugby pitch, tennis court, and every sport and recreational facility throughout our province. Beyond that, you've reached into the hearts of every Newfoundlander and Labradorian. And for that, as Premier, I couldn't be more proud, and I want to say thank you.
Well, we're looking at some snow moving through tonight and some more snow through tomorrow night. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
Ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. The sound of the Putin price effect on gas, the war on Europe, destabilizing gasoline prices around the world, including here. We could be seeing gas moving towards $2 a liter. Stay tuned. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Well, I went to fill up my car the other day, as well as a small red jerry can for the snowblower, and the total bill was gobsmacking, more than $110 if I remember, and I don't think it's going to get much cheaper anytime soon. So let's talk about gas and oil prices now with Dan McTagg. He's the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. So Dan, prices here in Newfoundland and Labrador, as you know, extremely high to begin with. What's your expert analysis of what we are facing?
Well, you're facing a tsunami in prices. Won't be so bad tomorrow, Anthony, but it looks like we are definitely looking at about a 4-cent increase, 3.5, 4, maybe a little bit higher with HST. So gasoline will be pushing up towards $1.77 a liter. As far as diesel is concerned, a very similar situation, up about 3.5, maybe even 4 cents a liter. And of course, stove oil, which is a little bit more expensive, up 4 cents a liter, with heating fuel, furnace oil up about 3.2 cents a liter. Any way you slice it, it's bad news tomorrow, but it's going to get worse next week because, of course, the increases we're seeing on the markets, at least since Friday, will now, of course, be passed on to consumers a week tomorrow, a week Thursday.
So some minor pain tomorrow, comparatively speaking, to what you think is going to happen next week, if I read between the lines of what you're saying?
I think the PUB will have no choice but to likely use the interrupter clause, and may actually start to happen with diesel. So yes, this week will be relatively calm compared to what we're going to see next week. We'll definitely be in the $1.80 range. I would expect at this point, unless something dramatic should change, we're looking a week Thursday on the gasoline side, another 5 cents a liter on top of that. So $1.82, $1.83, wow. And the week is done.
Wow. Well, listen, one quick question for you before I let you go. The international situation, the volatility with a war in Europe, how does that play into how you analyze the gas numbers and the data when you come up with these predictions?
Yeah, it's 3 to 1 for every, the shortage of global oil is 2 out of 3 of the problems. This conflict, Russia's attack on Ukraine, is amounting about a third of the problem. So, the fact we got to $108 a barrel for WTI, I would say since the beginning of January when it was 75, that's a $34 increase. About 15 of that is the result of the war, and it's likely to increase perhaps another $10 a barrel between now and the next couple of weeks should this go on. So it's a bad situation, but the war has made the bad situation that much worse, Anthony.
All right, Dan, I suspect we'll be speaking again. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Not at all. Good to be here.
Now, one part of the gas price the province has control over is tax. And Premier Andrew Furey said today that is something the finance minister may look at ahead of this year's budget.
Right now, all of the price of gas, only about 14 cents of it is gas tax. But that is something that the Minister of Finance is looking at as we move into budget time. We realize the cost of living is having an incredible impact on Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and we're trying our best to consider that in due process when evaluating the budget process.
Well, Here and Now is on the move again, though temporarily. This is because of the Paralympics, which start next week. So the show is going to be on half an hour later than usual. So that's 6:30 in Newfoundland, 6 o'clock in most parts of Labrador. That all starts next week, March 7th, and it's for that 1 week only. Don't forget to tune in.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ashley, we've been getting a good stretch of winter weather here in the east after the rest of the winter, which didn't feel very wintry, but, below -10 a lot of evenings this week.
Yeah, definitely. And this morning, no different. Sat around -11 as you walked out the door this morning. Let's take a look at those numbers across the board. Similar temperatures right through, except low-lying areas. Badger recorded a temperature near -19 and then -20s up across Labrador. Now, temperatures rebounded quite nicely today into the minus single digits. This is where we should be sitting around this time of year, actually exactly where we should be sitting at about -1 for St. John. 0 degrees in Corner Brook, and those temperatures up across Labrador again. -11 was the daytime high in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now temperatures right now cooled down just a little bit, hovering around -2 for St. John's. Bit of a wind chill out there as well. So if you are planning on heading out tonight before the snow, you may want to put on an extra layer for the wind chill. And then up across Labrador, your temperatures in the -teens, but feeling more like -21 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. So temperatures tonight are going to dip for a couple more degrees for central and the west coast. However, we should stay right where we are for St. John's. In fact, temperatures are actually going to warm up as we head through the overnight tonight for a good chunk of eastern Newfoundland. Back up by the time tomorrow morning rolls around 1, maybe 2 degrees. And that means that the snow that's going to move through may end as some drizzle into the morning hours. The other thing you'll note tonight is that the winds are going to ramp up. They'll be out of the south between 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. Now up across Labrador, not a whole lot happening for you. Temperatures, even though, will start to warm up though for Cartwright and southeastern Labrador. By morning, you should be up to about -9. Otherwise, temperatures dipping into the -20s again tonight. Lab City at -25. So taking a look at the current satellite and radar, we are starting to see some of that snow show up on the Holyrood radar, as you can see there on the Burin Peninsula. And then taking a look at the sweeping radar, we're seeing more widespread flurry activity. So this is going to continue to spread further east as we head through the night tonight, with accumulations somewhere between 2 to 5 centimeters. Not a whole lot in the way for eastern areas of the island. Maybe the Burin Peninsula may pick up between 5 to 10, but all the action is down along the southern areas of the island, where you could pick up close to 10 to 20 centimeters by the time that is all said and done, and very much already happening right now. So here's a look at the future tracker through the overnight. Time this out. As we head through 9-10 o'clock tonight, southwest coast should start to see the weather improving, and then it'll deteriorate as it heads further south. So you're starting to see that green show up there. That's the rain. That's the warmer temperatures. So snow to start, and then, like I said, may finish as some drizzle as we get towards the early morning hours. Quick moving system, fairly weak. But some snow for the southeastern portion of the Big Land as well. Tomorrow afternoon, a break in the system. We could actually see some cloudy or some clearing skies through the day, and then the next system will move through. This one's fairly quick moving as well, but it is going to bring some snow with it, starting into the evening hours and then overnight, which will be heavy at times for the eastern half of the island. And then eventually that's moving through fairly quickly as well through Friday morning. So that will bring the accumulations through Friday morning closer to 10 to 15 centimeters for most of eastern Newfoundland and the metro area as well. So definitely something to keep an eye on over the next couple of hours, or rather through the next 24 hours. But tomorrow, temperatures, after we see some sunshine, pretty nice. 0 degrees in St. John's tomorrow with those winds out of the west around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. We're looking at similar temperatures, a few degrees below zero as you head towards central, with some sun peeking out as well. And then for the west coast into the minus single digits. You're going to stay those gray skies along with that onshore flurry activity. St. Anthony, you're looking at -8 tomorrow, -13 in Cartwright. So your temperatures are going to drop through the day, and then -teens the story for the rest of the Big Land. That's a look at the forecast. We'll look ahead when I come back.
Well, whether it's the Canes Quest endurance race or drag races across Tanya Lake, snowmobiling has deep roots in Lab West.
Yeah, you're about to meet one snowmobiler who's been racing for decades with a machine that goes back just as far. He even recently won a first-place title.
And video producer Daryl Din put together this look at Robert Watson and his 1970s Yamaha.
One of our most dedicated racers, Robert Watson, running a vintage 77 SRX 440, 1977. So if you want to go,
he's like one of the legends too, yeah.
He raced in the original Labrador drag races.
Yeah.
We've got pictures of him back in the 80s racing almost identical sled as what he is now.
I started back 73, I believe it was. Back with the old Tanya Snowcart Club, doing oval races. Oh, back then I was running Arctic Cat, so I had a 72 EXT 440 and a 76 Altigra Z 250. I've done a few thousand races and won a few hundred. So today I had 2 Yamahas, an SRX 440 and a 700. Oh, my newest one is 98. I like the old sleds. the engine size, I mean, my 78 440 back in 78 was big class. And now we're into just like here for the most part, 1,000, 1,100 cc 4-stroke turbos that make unreal horsepower. My old 78 is 80, 85 horsepower. The big guys are running up in the 300 horsepower range. The wife says no more, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got about 4 or 5 more at the house that I'm working on. It's probably the old El Tigre that I have, 75 El Tigre that I have. It belonged to a buddy of mine that I used to race with, and we used to have some good times on the track, and I managed to find that one a few years ago and picked it up. So I'm in the process of restoring that one now to get it back here racing. When you start, you're going to be addicted, and it's going to cost you a lot of money.
I'm Terry Roberts in St. Lawrence, where there's widespread worry about the future of the local fluorspar mine. We'll hear from the mayor coming up.
I'm Terry Roberts, and we're back here tonight in St. Lawrence. So let's recap and tell you why we're here. So there's a local fluorspar mine here. It's been going a pretty good operation for several years, about 280 employees. Last week, the worst possible news, the company that owns it ran out of cash. It's now gone into receivership. 230 people here on the Burin Peninsula, 230 jobs were lost last week. Layoffs, just 50 people left there now. So now creditors are scrambling to try and find a way forward for this mine, to try and avoid bankruptcy. Will there be new owners, new investors? That remains to be seen. So we've got some questions, and we've got a man here tonight who might be able to help us answer some of those. St. Lawrence Mayor Kevin Pittman. Mr. Pittman, Mayor Pittman, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So we know today that you met with the receiver. The receiver is Grant Thornton. They've got the keys to this property here now. What did they tell you?
Well, we met with Phil Clark, who's the one of the senior vice presidents for Grant Thornton. We had a number of questions for them because one of the reasons we went through this process is to try to find more information confirm information that we were hearing. But we did get some information from them today, nothing definite, but they're basically telling us that this receivership will be at maximum 30 days. They're hoping that within the next 7 to 10 days, they will have a decision as to whether they're moving to bankruptcy, whether they're moving to receivership, or whether they're moving to a CCWA, which would be put the company up for sale. The other piece of positive news that we did get today was that they do have interested people out there. So they've already had some interest in it. So they're hoping that we're going to move towards the sale, but there's nothing definite on that yet.
Okay, so what's the mood in your community? You've only been mayor for like 5 months, and this is your baptism by fire. What's the mood here?
The mood here is, I guess, is one of questioning. Nobody's going to jump the gun and say, this is going to happen, and no one's going to say that it's dead in the water yet. So, we're still at a point now where we're wait and see, and hoping that something will happen.
So, who are you getting your answers from? Who are you talking to try and find out what's happening here?
I've had some conversations with a gentleman, Pat Gannon at CFI, who's, I think Pat's the one in charge in there right now. We've talked to several people who worked for CFI previously or are still working with them, and we've been talking to the receivers and our MHA, Paul Pike.
Now you might have some big decisions to make because Canada Fluorspar pays this town $450,000 a year as a grant in lieu of taxes. You may lose that. So what does that mean for this town?
That means we have to go back and review our budget and see where we can save money and where we can't save money. But our whole plan right now is that this doesn't impact our residents right now. We will manage this without having to increase taxes this year or put an extra burden on our residents. They're already in enough with this loss of employment. It's already tough enough.
St. Lawrence has had quite an interesting history. You've gone through a lot of ups and downs. What the people here? I sense that they're tough. What do you think? What's your sense?
They're tough. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. They're workers. They're good workers, and they want to work. And they're going to be able to take care of their families. And if they can't do it with the current situation with the mine, they're going to find work and keep their families safe and well cared for.
Okay, Mayor Kevin Pittman, thank you for joining us this evening. So that's it for us tonight here in St. Lawrence, where, as I said, there's a pretty somber mood in this community and throughout this entire region because there's a lot at stake here on the Burin Peninsula. Reporting live from St. Lawrence, I'm Terry Roberts for Here and Now.
public inquiry looking into the murders of 22 Nova Scotians continued today in Halifax, and participants were asked which witnesses they'd like to see testify next. The lawyers representing the families all say there is one person who could shed considerable light on the tragedy. Blair Rhodes has that story.
For the lawyers representing the families of the victims, there was one name at the top of all their lists.
Miss Banfield is a critical witness.
We know that Miss Banfield fled into the woods where she remained overnight. Her evidence can likely offer assistance in understanding the timeline.
This proceeding really can have no final report without hearing directly from Miss Banfield.
There are gaps and we believe errors in the timeline in detail about what Ms. Banfield and the perpetrator did during the day on April 18th.
They all want to hear from Lisa Banfield, the gunman's common-law partner. She was the first victim of his rampage, being assaulted and locked in his replica police car before he started shooting neighbors and setting fires. Banfield told police she managed to escape and fled into the woods until the next morning. But the family's lawyers are skeptical of her version of events.
We submit that the inclusions of her account in the foundational documents at present are woefully inadequate to any semblance of a completed narrative in that respect. We submit that what is included is based upon incomplete and untested statements given to the RCMP for purposes distinct from the Commission's mandate.
Senior counsel for the Commission says it's too soon to hear from Banfield. A lawyer representing women's shelters says grilling Banfield now sends the wrong message to victims of intimate partner violence about how they would be treated in a similar situation. RCMP have charged Banfield for allegedly supplying ammunition to the gunman. Her lawyer says she will cooperate after that issue is dealt with later this month. Nonetheless, Craig Z says Banfield is being singled out.
I've heard comments about sort of challenging Miss Banfield's evidence. It seems to be Miss Banfield is the only witness that's going to have her evidence challenged at this point. Second, perceived inconsistencies. Just because different people have different memories of an event does not mean, therefore, there are inconsistencies. It may just be a difference of memory.
No final decision has been made yet on whether Lisa Banfield or any other witness will be called to testify in this first phase of the hearings. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly is in Poland today, meeting some of the Ukrainians who've been crossing the border. Joly says Canada is ready to help Ukraine's neighboring countries to prevent a refugee crisis.
I was in conversation with Poland a month ago, and with Romania, and with Hungary and Slovakia, and all these countries that are bordering Ukraine, to make sure that we would secure safe passage to our own citizens, but also that we would help should there be any form of refugee crisis.
Joly met with refugees and Red Cross workers at a shelter near the Ukraine border. Canada has sent another $100 million in humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. That aid is in addition to other support for the country, including weapons. Russian ships and aircraft are now banned from Canadian territory. And today, Joly said 10 more prominent Kremlin-connected Russians in that country's oil and gas industry will also face further sanctions.
U.S. President Joe Biden delivered his first State of the Union address last night. It was originally supposed to focus on the American economic recovery from the pandemic, but the Russian invasion of Ukraine has become the central theme.
Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong.
The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States was in the audience for the address. She received a standing ovation in a bipartisan show of support. Domestically, Biden continued to promote his Build Back Better plan. He says it will help fight inflation through lower prices on things like medications and electric cars. Biden also launched a so-called unity agenda based around health and veterans programs.
Canadian airline WestJet has announced a deal to buy Sunwing Airlines as well as Sunwing Vacations. Now, the price in this deal has not yet been made public. WestJet says the move will help the company offer more affordable airfares by expanding its footprint in Canada. It says acquiring Sunwing will increase capacity and that Sunwing aircraft will operate year-round in Canada instead of just seasonally. The company also says it will respect all arrangements with the union and employee associations. The deal still needs regulatory approval and is expected to be done by the end of the year. Well, as expected, the Bank of Canada has raised its trend-setting interest rate by 0.25%. At this point, it now stands at 0.5%. This is the first increase for the bank's benchmark rate since October of 2018. The move is in an effort to slow inflation, which hit a 30-year high last month. The bank says the war in Ukraine has triggered a lot of economic uncertainty, and it will likely add to inflationary pressures, requiring further rate increases. Well, Here and Now is on the move again, though temporarily. This is because of the Paralympics, which start next week. So the show is going to be on half an hour later than usual. So that's 6:30 in Newfoundland, 6 o'clock in most parts of Labrador. That all starts next week, March 7th, and it's for that 1 week only. Don't forget to tune in. Okay, we've been following some very serious stories tonight. So how about a feel-good story out of Cape Town, South Africa? There's a new super hotel there, complete with a spa, swimming pool, sunbathing terrace. The views are outstanding, but there's a catch. You've got to have 4 legs and a tail to get in. Take a look.
I think more so now than ever, dogs are people's children, so they don't want to just be left at home to do nothing. Some of the key offerings we have is our splendid outdoor super sky deck. We've got a full table view mountain, the splash pool, not only AstroTurf but genuine grass as well, so the dogs have that natural feel, although it's in the city. Of course, we've got our handlers and staff on duty 24/7 to make sure that there's never ever a moment that a dog is being left unattended.
I would choose all of them, but I will have to just go with Stevie. Stevie's fun. Stevie likes me a lot. Stevie, when he sees me, he goes crazy.
We've got our customized lounges, which are absolutely delightful for the doggos. They really love sharing that space as a sleeping zone. They come here and get well spoiled, and just to make sure that at the end of the day they're knackered and happy when they go home.
That one, right?
Well, let's keep the feel-good animal stories going. A hunting guide in southern BC sprang into action when he saw that a deer had fallen through the ice.
Yeah, he made his way to the struggling animal by canoe, looped a rope around its neck, and then brought it back to shore just in time, too. The young buck appeared to be suffering from hypothermia.
So it didn't stop there. He put the shivering animal into his truck and brought him home. He even made a hay bed for the deer on his front porch to help it recover. By the morning, the deer had scampered away. Oh.
That's a lovely story.
It is. Are we going to have a lovely forecast?
If you like snow. You were talking about
I
how
don't like
you didn't
shoveling
to shovel
snow.
it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I don't think you're going to have to shovel too much over the next little bit, but we are going to see some snow move in Thursday night through Friday morning. Let's take a look at what's going to happen. Here's the system. So it does track to the south. Most of eastern Newfoundland will see that snow overnight Thursday, quickly through Friday morning, and then it does look like we could see some lingering flurries through the day on Friday. We may pick up a couple more centimeters with that one, but overall most of the action will happen overnight. Again, Avalon could pick up between 10 to 15 centimeters of snow, which will likely be heavy at times because it's falling fairly quickly. All that snow is falling in a very short period of time. Temperatures on Friday back down below zero, well below zero, -5 through the day for St. John's. As you head towards the west coast, a little bit cooler, even more so for the northern peninsula with some sunshine. The flurries will move in for you overnight into Saturday morning, and then up across Labrador as well. You're looking at those temperatures into the -teens with sunshine through Nain. Now, as we head through Saturday, onshore flurries will continue again for the west coast. That's the story really over the next couple of days and through the weekend. Other than that, not a whole lot happening. Southern areas of the island may see a few flurries through the day, and temperatures on Saturday will be fairly similar to what we've been seeing over the last couple of days. So minus single digits, minus double digits again up across Labrador. Southeastern Labrador, temperature near -13 for Cartwright, and then -18 the story for Nain with some sunshine on Saturday. Beautiful start to the weekend for you. Taking a look at the forecast over the next couple of days through the weekend, it is looking unsettled. We may see some sunshine as we head through the day on Saturday. Into Sunday, you're looking at that flurry activity as well. And then Monday, another warm up. Temperatures above zero, about 3 degrees. So we may see a change over to showers or some showers or drizzle briefly in the afternoon. Definitely going to keep an eye on that one. Temperature dipping again into the overnight around -5. Now for central Newfoundland, after some snow on Friday morning, some sunshine. Saturday looks gray, and then Sunday a few flurries possible as well with some sunshine through the afternoon. Temperature warming up for you above zero as well, just barely though, so you may stay as snow, maybe some drizzle, but likely all snow. And then western Newfoundland, that onshore flurry activity will continue for you right through the afternoon. or rather right through the week to the beginning of next week. Again, have your temperature flirting with 1 degree, but overnight lows will dip right back down to the minus single digits. Eastern Labrador, nice a couple of days for the weekend for sure. Temperatures into the minus teens. Snow will return on Monday, and then we're looking at a similar forecast for Western Labrador. I can't get my words straight today. Monday, you're looking at some light snow returning as well. Take a look at this photo. A cold day on the beach in Salmon Cove. I'd say that's a beautiful day no matter what it looks like, as long as the sun is shining. Great shot there, Shelley. Thank you for that. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Not many tourists on that beach.
Nope.
Well,
it was minus 10. That's
I was going to say, and you can see the sunshine, but you can never see the wind in these pictures. They always look so nice and peaceful. Not a lot of waves there, so maybe it was one of those calm days, but you know, you can get lulled into a false sense of warm, sunny security.
But that sunshine.
Yes.
Take it.
Oh, for sure. And it always feels so much warmer.
It does, absolutely.
I was thinking about this gasoline story, and I wonder, does anybody know what the situation with electric vehicles in the province is? Because I know people are on waiting lists. I wonder if there's a bigger push towards electric
right, whether or not a
cars
lot more
happening.
people who are considering cars are now thinking, you know what?
Well,
maybe this is the time that if I'm paying $1.80 a liter for gas, this might be the time to, you know, spend a little more, get an electric car instead. But
or a bicycle.
Definitely, or a bike. It's the weather, though.
I was just going to say, actually, as an expert in weather,
you can't use a bike all through the
although
year.
it is true, there are quite a few people who manage to get through with bicycles.
Yep.
You were one.
Anthony, I noticed you didn't ride yours in today.
It's been a while. I've been bad, actually. I
wasn't even that
gotta
bad.
start riding that bike again.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just like riding a bicycle.
There we go. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good night.
Good night.